Today we're looking at packaging, and you probably don't think much about packaging unless you're trying to deal with one of those horrible plastic clamshell things, or you're having trouble trying to get the cap off of a bottle or something like that. But an appealing package design can seduce you into purchasing a brand at least one time until you find out whether you like it or not. A well-designed package can make a commodity. That's things we buy every day and we don't really think about much, like maybe coffee or sugar or salt. It can make it look special. On the other hand, a poorly designed package can make a superior product look horrible. Poorly engineered packaging is going to just frustrate the customer, just like a well-engineered package can make the use of a product easier, and it can actually increase brand loyalty. Besides promoting a brand, packaging is functional. It encases and allows access to a product by means of a pour spout or a flap or a clasp or a drawstring or some other kind of device. Package design involves the complete strategic planning and designing of the form, the structure, and the appearance of a product's package, which functions as a casing. It promotes the brand, it presents information, and it becomes a brand experience. It's a specialized area of graphic design because package designers must be knowledgeable about a range of construction and technical factors. You have to be familiar with and have knowledge of materials and their qualities, like glass, different plastics, paperboard, paper, metal, and you need to know manufacturing, safety, display, recycling, regulatory management, quality standards, printing. These are all necessary functions. Package designers work in collaboration with brand identity designers, marketing executives, product developers, manufacturers, industry designers, packaging engineers, and designers may also work as part of a group to develop the basic shape of the package, the material, the structure. Think of the shape of a traditional Coca-Cola bottle. Without seeing it, would you be able to recognize it just by holding the bottle in your hand? It's important to create distinctive package design. Most often, package design is part of an integrated branding program whose marketing strategy may feature a variety of marketing initiatives, including promotions, product launches, and the advertising. Think of a sub-brand of Pepsi like Diet Pepsi, General Mills like Cheerios, and Scotch brand which has 3M. You can understand how the package design is going to be part of an entire branding experience. In-store brands, off-brands, packaging from other than a national brand to include local or regional products. These are companies that only operate in a particular area, like we have Leal's. Leal's is a local brand. These compete for shelf space and recognition by the consumer. Think of the placement of generics over the placement on the shelf of name brands. Bagged cereals go in bins on shelves. They don't get the same shelf presence as name brands, but they're looked for by price-conscious consumers. Shelves are arranged by the agreements with the stores. Did you know that? Companies pay for the prime shelves, the ones that are eye level. Kids' cereals are at that level for the kids in the shopping cart, or for slightly older children walking along with mom or dad. Walk through a department store, like Dillard's or Target or Kohl's. Clothing is arranged by brand. Gone are the days when you looked in a mixed rack unless you're shopping clearance. Labeling is important. Branding is important. This shows up in the packaging. These are real images of generic products which were introduced in the 1970s and 1980s. These lasted a few years, but they disappeared because even though they were advertised as being good, they just didn't look good. Yeah, the packaging was cheaper. Remembered what we've learned about printing? The more color, the more times you have to pass through the item through the press, the more expensive the labeling. Part of your cost of production cost is in the labeling. So the idea was if the product reflected the less expensive quality in the label, the consumer would buy it. But it just doesn't look as appealing to the customer. Sales weren't as good as projected. The generic labeling disappeared in favor of store brand labels that looked more like the national brands. Now, remember, a lot of times these products are actually made in the same plants as the name brands. The products may not be of exactly the same quality after all. If you really look at the green beans from Green Giant and the ones from the store brands, you may see there is a difference in the quality of the beans. What did you think companies do with seconds? They're not destroyed, they're packaged for lower end products. The labeling has changed. It's a harsh reality. Some of the things that you have to consider when you're designing for packaging is making the design appropriate and relevant to the product. Sometimes safety is something to consider. Would you be surprised to learn that back in the 1950s, items like shampoo bottles were constructed out of glass? We wouldn't even think about this today because of the safety factor for dropping a bottle in the shower. Cream deodorants were packaged in glass jars. We've moved into plastics for a lot of things because they're easier or safer, or they're more convenient, or they're cheaper to produce. But now plastics are an issue, and we are probably going to end up reverting back to glass for some items because it is reusable, it's recyclable, and it's better for the environment. We also need to consider whether the packaging follows the rest of the brand so it looks and feels like the same product line. We need to consider the target audience. We have to think whether the packaging is going to appeal to a particular age group or some other demographic. So just to quickly review, the purpose of package design is functionality. It promotes a brand, but it also encases and allows access to a product. Package design involves the complete strategic planning and designing of the form, structure, and appearance of the product's package, and it functions as a casing. It promotes the brand, it gives information, and it becomes part of the brand experience. If package design is part of a broader branding program, the design team meets with the brand identity designers or design director to ensure everyone works from the same core strategic platform. A package design project may be one in a line of products, and so the team needs to examine the brand architecture, the form, the flavor differentiation, and the identity standards to comply with industry and federal regulations. Mandatory information like nutritional information or ingredients on other packaging must be included and considered when designing. Other issues you address at the onset include things like sustainable design issues, printing specs, structural specs, functional data, tamper resistance, and more, and whatever copy is going on. People are often drawn to a package design for emotional rather than rational reasons, like price or ingredients. According to marketing expert Louis Cheskin, people transfer their perception of a package to the product it contains. He calls it sensation transference. The package is the product. The aesthetics of the package design greatly affects our perception of the product's value. Creating a desired perception of the product requires detailed attention to not only the package's looks, but also to how it feels in the hand and even the sounds it makes. The package's sensory cues are enormously important, contributing to the consumer's experience of the product. A package design is a tangible brand experience. At the supermarket shelf, people make brand choices based on multiple factors: an individual's state of mind, familiarity with the brand, and the brand's functional or emotional benefits, quality or performance, value related to cost, and convenience all influence brand choices. In addition, exposure to advertising, promotions, brand associations, brand loyalty, and necessity, not to mention how receptive someone is to new or familiar items on the store's shelf at any given time, all play a part in influencing which items we select. For a person to be interested in purchasing a new brand, the package design must be intriguing enough for someone to want to pick it up in the first place, or select it amid myriad choices online. Many design experts believe that package design is the make or break decision for a person reaching for a product on the shelf. It's estimated that about 65 to 75% of packaging decisions are made standing in front of the packaging in the store. Packaging has that much influence over your buying decisions. The television commercial or website experience is in your memory bank. The package is right there in front of you, whether on the shelf or pictured on the retail website. The packaging is the final brand experience you have before you make the purchase. Color is an important design element in the packaging of products, such as food, toiletries, beverages, often conjuring up key associations and used to designate flavor or fragrance choices. Color differentiates choices like flavor or scent, and they can also unify a product line. Color also plays a major role in cueing people as to flavor, scent, type, and contents of a particular package. Color can also send a signal about status and quality. With only seconds or a couple of minutes at most to make a purchasing decision, color, visuals, and type must all work together to communicate information. So much of food packaging is about appetite appeal. We don't want our potatoes green. We don't want our ketchup to be blue. The package shouldn't miscue the experience of the product by incorporating inappropriate colors. Photography or illustrations on packaging play two important roles. They're cues that convey information and create an emotional connection. Visual language can communicate product attributes like refreshment or taste, as well as emotional benefits like exhilaration or satisfaction. For example, a spry woman depicted on a nutritional supplement signals health, or the image of a ski slope on an oral hygiene product signals fresh. Package copy includes brand name, product name, pertinent and required information, maybe a tagline or a description which communicates the emotional or functional benefits of the brand. The typography communicates on a denotative and connotative level, ideally working with all the visual elements to establish the appropriate message. Materials are important. Some of the things you have to consider when you're designing for packaging is making the design appropriate, relevant, and safety is something to consider. Would you be surprised to learn that back in the 1950s, items like shampoo bottles were constructed out of glass? We wouldn't consider this today because of the safety factor for dropping a bottle in a shower stall. Cream deodorants were packaged in glass jars. We've moved into plastics for a lot of things because they're either easier or safer or more convenient or cheaper to produce, but now plastics have become an issue and we may end up reverting back to glass because it's reusable and better for the environment. We also need to consider whether the packaging follows the rest of the brand so it looks and feels the same. We need to consider the target audience and whether the packaging is going to be appealing to a particular age group. With crowded shelf space in the big box stores or grocery stores, it's necessary for the label to have a good shelf presence. It needs to look appealing. It needs to be the same but different. If you look at the image I've got up on here, the Del Monte next to the Green Giant, they all have similar presence, but you can see the labeling for the Del Monte really shows off the logo, and we're looking at the labels from the wrong side, or you'd see the Green Giant on the left-hand side of the label. You can barely make out the image in the generic can of peas that's designed similar to the Del Monte label, but it has a prominent logo so you can differentiate the brands. And of course now, since the pandemic with grocery products, there's a lot of people shopping from home online. Labeling needs to be clear on screen. A label that's too busy is going to become muddy when it's shrunk down to screen resolution. So that's a consideration. We need to be different from the competition, yet we need to be able to be identified easily. And so relying on packaging cues will direct the consumer to your product.